I never thought I'd be the kind of person who'd snoop through someone else's stuff. But here I am, shaking, hands sweating, holding a tiny black camera I found behind a bookshelf in my best friend's guest room. And I'm trying to convince myself that there has to be a reasonable explanation. But there isn't, because I already saw what's on the memory card. Let me start from the beginning. My name's Jake. I'm 27, and up until 2 months ago, I would have told you I had the best friend a guy could ask for. Brandon and I met in college. He was the kind of guy everyone liked, laid back, funny, always down for a beer or a weekend trip. When I went through my breakup last year, he was the one who showed up at my apartment with pizza and beer. When I lost my job, he let me crash at his place for a while, no questions asked. So when he offered me his guest room for a few weeks while I figured out my next move, I didn't hesitate. It started off great. He cooked. He cleaned. He never complained when I stayed up late or forgot to do my laundry. Honestly, he was the perfect host. Too perfect. About a week into my stay, I noticed some weird stuff. Like how Brandon always seemed to know when I was about to head out. Even if I didn't say anything, he'd be waiting by the door like, "You leaving now?" Or how once I mentioned in passing that I was craving Thai food, and 5 minutes later, he walked in with takeout from the exact place I had in mind. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe I talk more than I realize. Maybe he's just that thoughtful. But then, there was the toothbrush thing. I keep my electric toothbrush in my travel bag. Always zipped up. Always in the same pocket. One night, I went to grab it, and the zipper was open. The brush was on top of my clothes. Not in its usual spot. Again, I told myself, "You're being paranoid. He's your friend. He wouldn't go through your stuff." But something didn't sit right. A few days later, Brandon left for the weekend. Some out-of-town wedding. He said he'd be gone until Sunday night. The second he left, I started searching the room. Not because I wanted to invade his privacy, but because I needed to prove to myself that nothing was going on, that I was just being stupid. That's when I found it, tucked behind a stack of books on the far corner of the guest room shelf. A tiny black device about the size of a matchbox. It had a tiny lens. At first, I didn't even realize what it was. Then I turned it over and saw the SD card slot. My stomach dropped. I plugged the memory card into my laptop. There were dozens of files, all labeled by date. I clicked on one from the night before, and I saw myself, sleeping, tossing, turning, picking my nose, saying weird stuff in my sleep. I slammed the laptop shut, tried to breathe, tried to come up with any reason Brandon would have a hidden camera pointed at the bed I was sleeping in. But the truth was already slapping me in the face. He was watching me, recording me, and I had no idea for how long. I sat in my car for almost an hour after leaving Claire's place, just staring at my shaking hands on the steering wheel. That night, I didn't sleep, not even a little. Every sound in my apartment made me flinch. I kept seeing that tiny red light from the hidden camera every time I closed my eyes. And worse, I kept wondering how many hours of footage existed of me undressing, brushing my teeth, sleeping. The next morning, I called in sick. I couldn't face people. I couldn't even face myself. I spent the day researching hidden surveillance laws, stalking forums, and trying to figure out what kind of charges this could fall under. Claire's name popped up more than once when I searched local gossip forums, mostly about her dad and their weirdly lavish lifestyle. And then something hit me like a freight train. If that one guest room had a camera, who's to say it was the only one? That night, I did what I never thought I would. I broke into Claire's house. No, I didn't shatter windows or anything dramatic like that. I still had a key from a time she let me feed her cat when she was out of town. She'd forgotten to ask for it back. I waited until just after midnight, drove over with my headlights off, parked 3 blocks away, and crept up the back like I used to when we were teenagers sneaking in past curfew. The house was dark, completely still. I knew Clara was in Miami for the influencer retreat. Her Instagram had been full of cocktails and ocean views for the past 24 hours. Once inside, I moved fast. I knew the layout by heart. I went straight for the guest room first. Same camera. Same creepy little red light. This time, I yanked the picture frame off the wall and found the camera embedded deep into the drywall, hooked into a tiny wireless transmitter. I felt sick, but I kept going. In her bathroom mirror, another lens. In the hallway air vent, another one. Her dad's office, a freaking control center. There were at least 6 monitors, One of them split into a grid of multiple live feeds from every room in the house. Every room. There was footage playing. Of me. Of other guests. Of Clara herself. Some of the windows had folder names, just initials and dates. But then I saw my own initials. ET with a timestamp. I clicked, and there I was brushing my hair in that guest room, looking tired and vulnerable. I wanted to throw up. I deleted every file I could find with my name, ripped out the hard drive, yanked cables like my life depended on it. Because maybe it did. I should have called the police right then. But I panicked. I grabbed everything I could. USB sticks, hard drives, even a stack of creepy handwritten logs that looked like guest journals, but with way too much detail. Then I ran. Back at my apartment, I stuffed everything into a shoebox and hid it under my bed. For 2 days, I didn't move. I didn't eat. I couldn't. On day 3, Clara called. Hey babe, I'm back early. Want to come over tonight for wine and a horror movie night like old times? My blood turned cold. I stared at the phone. I almost didn't pick up, but something in me snapped. Sure, I said. What time? She chirped like nothing was wrong. 8? Where's sweats? I spent the next 6 hours preparing. I made copies of everything. Sent a USB with the footage to myself via express courier. Hid a spare in a locker at the train station. I wrote a statement. I even wrote a note to my mom in case something happened to me. Then I went. I wore a wire. Literally. One of my co-workers of the magazine had connections and owed me a favor. The audio was going straight to the cloud. Clara greeted me with a smile like sunshine. You look tired, she said, tilting her head. Did you sleep okay in the guest room? Didn't leave the fan on too high, did you? I blinked. My stomach twisted. She knew I had been uncomfortable. Maybe she'd even watched me that night in real time. She poured us wine, played her usual playlist, acted like everything was normal. Midway through the movie, I said, Clara, I need to ask you something. Why is there a camera in the guest room? She didn't even flinch. Just looked at me, tilted her head slightly. You went snooping, didn't you? The air changed. It was like a switch flipped behind her eyes. You weren't supposed to find that, she said calmly. I didn't answer. My hands were trembling. You don't get it, she said, standing up. This isn't some creeper thing. It's protection. For me. For my dad. You think I'd let people stay in my house and not monitor them? What if someone stole something? Or worse? Clara, that's illegal. Her smile was cold. Not if they consented. There's a sign in the hallway. Small print. Look closer next time. But I didn't. You did, she snapped. You walked past it. Staying in this house means you agreed. You always have. That's when I knew. This wasn't about safety. This was control. I pressed further. Why were the files labeled with initials and dates? Why were there cameras in places no one would reasonably expect surveillance? Because some people pay for it, she said, shrugging. You'd be shocked how many rich pervs want high-quality voyeur footage of real women. Not porn actresses. Real people. Real reactions. My heart stopped. You sell the videos? She didn't deny it. Just sipped her wine. Not always. But sometimes. Depends on the guest. Depends on the offer. I stood up. You're sick. You're ungrateful, she said, venom creeping into her voice. You stayed in my house. Ate my food. Let me help your career. And now what? You're gonna rat me out. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Clara narrowed her eyes. You're wearing a wire, aren't you? I turned to leave. She lunged. I didn't expect her to be that fast. She grabbed my arm, hard, nails digging into my skin. You don't get to destroy my life over one mistake. One mistake. I screamed, yanking free. You've done this to dozens of people. She started crying. Or maybe pretending to. You don't understand. My dad, he started it. He said it was insurance. Then it turned into income. We needed the money. He lost his pension. What was I supposed to do? I didn't care. I ran, got in my car, and drove straight to the police. Everything after that moved in a blur. They took my statement, took the box, the backups, everything. They raided her house the next morning. Clara and her dad were arrested on 7 felony charges, including invasion of privacy, wiretapping, and distribution of illicit surveillance footage. They found over 2 terabytes of video files. Some had already been sold online. It became a media frenzy. Her influencer career? Over. Sponsors dropped her. Her followers turned on her. She tried to spin it, called it a privacy misunderstanding in a TikTok video filmed from house arrest. It got taken down within an hour. I testified at the trial. So did 4 other women. And 2 men. Clara's smugness didn't last long. Her dad took a plea deal. Clara tried to pin it all on him. But there were receipts, passwords, footage of her reviewing clips. She went down with him. She got 5 years. He got 12. When the sentence was read, she looked at me one last time. No anger, no tears, just pure hatred. I still get chills thinking about that look. I moved cities 6 months later. Changed jobs. Changed everything. I still lock up all my electronics when I sleep. I check every vent and picture frame when I travel. Sometimes I get emails from strangers saying they saw me in a leaked video. They send links. I don't click. I try to forget. But you don't really forget something like that. Clara was my best friend. And she sold my body, my privacy, my trust for a few $1,000s and a follower count. So yeah, next time you crash at someone's house, maybe check the walls. And never assume you're not being watched. Because sometimes the people smiling at you are the ones pressing record.